earlier the course of the day today. Actually, when I was actually at work. I was having this discussion with, I suppose, a schoolmate of mine, and she was telling me that, and it's a very common thing that, especially the generation that we live in at the moment, is that people are very anxious with themselves, a lot of anxiety, a lot of lack of agencies in themselves, by themselves, in the mere fact that they are doing things that they're only interested in themselves. They want agency into that specific thing. It's not totally preposterous, but it is. But sadly, that's the society that we live in currently. And there's actually a study that shows there's a direct correlation with social media and how it has its detrimental effect onto our kids, you know. And it's very sad that even the modern women are very indoctrinated to actually believe that you can soothe your kid. You can make your kid believe that you can actually use a phone as a coping mechanism to mitigate some of this when they're feeling any sort of, or something that doesn't, or anything whatsoever goes astray in their lives. They can soothe that. They can soothe themselves using a phone. That's crazy. It's a very sad thing. And when exactly that your life will never have any sort of predicament, any sort of adversities, in any stage, in any step of your life, it comes with its own conundrums. And if you've been raised to raise yourself, that you only cope with the stresses of life through social media, then I won't be wrong when I tell you that you're fucked. Indeed you are. Because on the mere sense, what even are you feeding yourself with? You know, it's like you're fighting rubbish with, you're trying to create rubbish with rubbish. It's like when your house is messed up with rubbish. Other than taking the rubbish outside the house, you decide that you're going to dig a latrine, or pit hole under the floor of your house, so that you discard the rubbish. Yeah, you have solved the problem, because on no longer sense you can't see visibly you can't see the trash, the litter, but on the mere sense, rationalistically, it's still there. Rubbish is still there, and even you're making it worse. You've destroyed your house, it looks even more disorganized. You're solving a problem with one problem with another one. That's the type of world we live in currently. It's quite sad. So yeah, and if I go back, as I was saying, why people get anxious, where actually there's that inaugural of anxiety, and you have to understand what is anxiety first. Alright, anxiety is that your brain has so many answers at the same time that it totally destroys its coping mechanism on which answers is right, because they are all right and they are all best. That is anxiety. Anxiety can also be defined a form of living in the future, speculations, expectations. What if? That is anxiety. It is a very simple thing. The disorder, the only way you can mitigate such disorders is that you accept that you only live in this world, only in the present. You're in the future. There's nothing like the future, and there's no past. And the reason why there's no past, there's a famous Japanese quote that says that the man who crosses the river is not the same man who will cross the same river, and that is not the same river he had crossed prior. You're not the same person that you are yesterday. You are totally different. Every day you're creating something out of your consciousness. Yet you can't see, but you're doing it involuntarily. Same way you can't describe to me that how you're making oxygen, exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide at your alveoli, so that how you're making your alveoli to be permeable, so that you can allow diffusion of oxygen rather to later to be transferred, to be diffused into the blood, and then how you exhale the carbon dioxide as the oxygen transport into your body gets distributed even to the minuscule of the tissues back at the head, back in your head, back at places even you don't know that are part of yourself. Tell me exactly how you do that. You see, in a linear explanation, you can't exegesis that. But you're doing it, and you know that you're doing it. But you can't explain how exactly are you doing it. But you're still doing it. And so you should understand what operates outside yourself and inside yourself. It's one and the same thing. And here's the thing: you yourself are the one who's in control of it. But you can't really explain how you're controlling it, because if you try to explain, you fall into the domain of linear, rather trying to exercise that is of the domain into the multidimensional. That's where the conundrum lies. And how do you live the present? How do you live in now? It's easy. Understand, you're a human being. More focus on the word being. You are a creature that is becoming. You are unfolding under the cascades of events of the multidimensional of your own existence to this reality. You're doing it, but you can't tell me how you're exactly doing it. But you're still doing it. About 2,000 years ago, people used to worship philosophy. Now, under the Socrates, there was a famous prisoner, Seneca. He said that you'll only be happy if you decide to focus on the things that you only have control of, other than trying and putting your attention to the things that you know perfectly you have no control of. What if you'll always have, and I know it comes with, let's say you're in a situation, and let's say you're in a situation where you did something, you really anticipate the outcomes. What normally people do is that they try to create their own outcomes. And it's funny, people create their own outcomes not in a positive manner, but they're trying to rely more on the negation. Is it rudimentally? I ask myself this question: that is it because they don't love themselves? Is it because they don't see value and worth in themselves? What is really is the biggest concern here? What is the biggest concern here? It's crazy, right? And if you're overthinking of the outcomes of positivity, then we won't define it as anxiety. We will call it affirmations. You are just in affirm to what you are. So that's the dichotomies of thoughts, but we're now focusing on the other side, which is the dark side, the shadow part, which is the anxiety that get attributed as a result of such negation thoughts. I think start by seeing the value and worth in yourself, to know that you are your worth your presence is none, that it's irreversible. And if you're totally irreversible, nothing is of worry, because you've already achieved authenticity. You're literally walking into the highest, most ladder of human achievement. What is like, that is what most people aspire to be, or to where they want to be. So that's the only way you get to mitigate or to attenuate anxiety symptoms. Focus on living now, the present, because you only have now. Now the future, it is determined by now, and that's why I'll be perfectly correct when I say that. You are where you are you're exactly where you're supposed to be based on the current cascades of patterns and mannerism based predicated to your anthropological way of existence that you've been depicting for a couple of years ago. You just denote everything about your life, your existence here, your presence. Just denotes that. I love this song. Swing, anyone can swing. I've seen it so it gives me the vibes of take me to the river. Oh Lord, I'm a seeing now. Oh Lord, I'm a singing. Lord, let me know. Oh, let me see now. I can feel a song. Okay, I don't know the song, but I know the rhythm. So, let me know. Let me see. It gives me the vibes of church worship, and the fact that I said that I'm not a Christian, or that's a very profound thing to try to break it into very simple conclusion. Now let me paraphrase, or rather let me explain myself. See, no. Christianity, I believe Christianity. I know. I don't believe. I know. I have seen Christianity do work, but Christianity, Hinduism, Muslim, Judaism, Catholicism, this is just religion, and there's a nuance between what is a religion and what is God. There's a difference between religion and God. Now, religion is a form of hierarchical chain that depicts collective dominance illusion to create form of and has a lot of jurisdictions, and then with its philosophy it embedded it with monotheism. With monotheism, there's a correlation with God. And with that doesn't mean that monotheism is the true. It's just I can't say it's the truth, but it kind of denotes what the truth is. Same with religion, because the truth is you have to understand it. Sigmund Freud call it the id. You want to understand God. Who is God? What is God? Am I even God? Maybe I'm God. Now if you start to understand these things and question them from that perspective and point of view, and from that perspective, you may be lucky enough to see the answer. More so like the truth. But you'll only appreciate it, rather you'll only get a chance in your life to see the truth if you choose not to operate into the normality of how everything has been unified to some sort of narrative on how you're supposed to live your life, on how you're supposed to present yourself in a certain situation as it transfers through your life before you die. And funny enough, it has been categorized at a certain time in a certain age. You're supposed to be somewhere doing a certain phenomena to be socially accepted. And this is the concept that and I see it has a more indirect correlation with something I call disinhibited social engagement disorder. So what is what exactly is that? It is a mental disorder we define it from the psychological point of view, and in psychology it's a point where a child that hasn't been mitigated or hasn't been habituated well enough into how you're supposed to act in the society, ending up having an open engagement to any form of a person that denotes some sort of protection or caregiving to their life. These are the kids that you'll find that they don't cry when you carry them. These are the kids that when their mother gets scared when you take them with the kid to the supermarket, maybe for sure, because the kid will go to mingle with other adults, because according to their mentality they know that any person that is older enough is there to protect me, and in anything that they tell me to do, I'll be submissive to that. Well, it is controlled when they're young, but when they get older, it starts to give you the picture of, you see how our young girls, they're lasting for sexual attraction for older men. It's quite a repulsive disposition, but that's our proclivities. But with that, they believe that they love them, they believe that They're there to protect them, ending up using them, attributing that negative mentality by finally coming with a very dismal, with a very awful identity of what a man is. Men are dogs. It becomes engraved in their mentality. They forget that. They'll. You see, it's funny because women have an expiring date. At the age of 22, women at their prime is at the age of 18, early enough 18, but on average from 19 and a half to almost, and to the extreme early 30s. That's like their most, that's like when they will be forever be prime. That's the time they're glowing, and if they have a figure you can see it, that's the time they look sexual, they look succulent, they look sweet, they look darling, they look baby, they look that's the perfect where women are. They do depict the flower in themselves. Some realize that and they use that as a leverage. And with that, by the time that they're starting to deteriorate, they have already secured themselves internally. Those are the smart women, or rather the smart. They came from a leadership of smart individuals that they know how to place better of their generation. And so now there are flowers, as I've just said. Now if you take a flower, it has its there is a very specific explanation why they are flowers. The women can share the same metaphor as being identified as a flower, is because a flower is its own prime. That's where it's ready for market. That's where that it's glowing in the garden. That's why it's smelling nice. That's why it's attracting bees. That's when it's a flower. Earlier, it was growing. It was a plant, green, towns. Then after that, it starts to lose its value. If it wasn't, if the flower hadn't done what it was supposed to, or meant to be, have objectified before their time is gone, it is gone. And it's the worst thing, it's irreversible, the dynamic of nature. Same with women. And that's where I'm very careful when I'm having an acquaintance with any woman. I make sure we have a platonic relationship, because the mentality is not the same. For my mind may be totally into smashing the girl just for the last, the back shots. That may be into my mind, but for her, deeper than that. You see, there's a reason why a woman can't be forgiven when they cheat. is because for a woman to actually give her body to you, that means that woman, you see, women operate with emotions. It's very easy to understand women, yet at the same time it's very hard to understand them. It's easy to understand women if you operate emotionless. It's hard them if you try to be empathetical and attune to the emotions, because the emotion is quite volatile. They have that volatility of emotion. At one point, you see, they may be telling you this, at the same time this is what they mean. So if you see, an artist can only understand the picture if they actually step far behind the picture that they're drawing. You can only understand a picture if you understand if you view it from a third party perspective, outside the domain of what it's around, or the domain of that picture. That's the only way you get to understand something. You only understand a culture if you have an acquaintance with another culture. Otherwise, if your life has been embedded and entrenched to only one culture, you live your life to believe that's the only culture, religion. Where if you have to have an acquaintance and to be accustomed with multifaceted of different cultures, it will be easier for you to understand why exactly your culture that you grew in has these specific certain types of dispositions, and what it's predicated to certain axioms and values and structures and hierarchical representation. You'll understand that because you can distinguish different, because there are plethoras of them. But we choose to you have to let go of it for you to understand something in a way that you operate. You see, emotions has a frequency. Your energy, and that's string theory is a very profound physical invention. And the mere fact of everything is an aspect that of frequencies and energy. You're just a bunch of energy, and you'll always know when you share, when you have an attunement, empathetic attunement with someone's emotion, because you'll be feeling the vibe, you'll feeling their energy, literally. You'll be feeling the attraction. So to understand women, you just be emotionless when you're dealing with them. You'll see it. It's very easy. Things will be just unfolding in your eyes. Your work will be just be consuming and accepting and all. You know, this is it. So You know, these are the songs. Now, there's an essay I wrote. Walking in the darkness, saw me on the sunshine. Saw me on the moonrise, saw me on the sunshine. Please stay, help me to the one now. Please stay, stay forever. Saw me in the darkness, and in a week or so, I'm going to defend it. It's about the factors that lead to depressive symptoms among student nurses. What student nurses represent is just a denotion of the currently generation that we are in. Why is the depression a common phenomenon? In the 18th century, there wasn't something called depression, and well, it came with its disposition. It came with its downfall. First, the death of George Washington. Abraham Lincoln was caused by. So says this history that has a direct correlation with being suffered from depression. Same with his kid. And that's what actually led to his death. But that's a story of one in a rare. Even if you ask your grandparents if they are still alive, go and ask them. For those who are fortunate enough, or even an older person who's quite old, maybe into the categories of 80, 90 plus years, they'll tell you depression wasn't a thing. And depression at that time was something that was, if it was depression, it was a really critical mental disorder that you're really depressed of your neurotransmitters, because that literally is depression. You get deprivation from dopamine, and you know dopamine has a response to for achieving your more so for achievement, fulfilling you, for achieving, use as a way of achieving yourself, as a gift, for rewarding yourself, use for pleasure. Same with another neurotransmitter, serotonin, to improve your mood, to make your mood stable, operate in a hemostatic dynamic continuum. That's why these guys are being administered for SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. It inhibits the absorption of serotonin, so there's quite a plethora of serotonin, and with that it comes with its good effect of stabilizing and improving your mood, because it was down and you're depressed. And that is not the question that we should be asking ourselves. The question that we should be asking ourselves, the most rudimentary, pivotal question, is that why is it now that depressive symptoms it's a common normality? Why so? Why so? Ask yourself that question. Has to come back.